Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. Hashtag handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back and welcome to Casa de Confidence. This is Dan.
And this is the person that didn't get to say a quote at the beginning.
She didn't get to say a quote. Well, you didn't have a quote ready.
I have a quote ready.
You do have a quote ready?
Yeah, I have a quote ready.
Then we'll start over again. All right. Everybody rewind.
No, let me just get into the quote now.
It'd be funny if they rewound and then there was suddenly a quote there.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me start. Ready?
All right, go ahead.
I choose to live by choice, not by chance. To be motivated, not manipulated.
Ooh.
To be useful, not used. To make changes, not excuses. To excel, not compete. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity. I choose to listen to my inner voice, not the random opinion of others.
Wow, that's an amazing quote. And, you know, maybe some people need to hear that today.
100%.
Yeah.
They sure do.
Oh my gosh, Julie, how's your weekend going?
You know, the weekend is almost done. And I don't know where the time went.
Oh, my boss has me working hard.
Really? I'm not your boss.
My partner?
Your co-founder. How's that?
Co-founder.
Co-founder.
No, it's all good and fun. It's fun work. So
it sure is. It sure is a lot of fun. And by the way, I think this week went by so fast, I can't even remember what happened in my world. I have to go back and look at my days.
All I know, and I don't know if this sounds different, I'm going to put some magic on it and some pixie dust and, you know, all that magical stuff that I try to do with the sound. But I am using the original microphone that we started the podcast with.
Yes. Tell the listeners why.
It's a Rockville microphone. It's a handheld, dynamic. It kind of looks like the Shure. It kind of looks like the Shure microphones that rock stars use.
Well, you are a rock star for sure. Listen, I was just going to tell you what my week was like because I went to my calendar to look at it. Wait, let me finish
I got to tell you. I got to tell the people why I'm using this microphone.
All right, go ahead.
She saw something shiny and she ran after it.
Your turn.
She is part of the pack. So it's because I was going to surprise Julie, but it would have been obvious today that we're missing a microphone because I'm doing a custom paint job on her microphone, and she's just using mine.
I'm using yours?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's going to be mine once I take it.
Listen, who knew?
It's yours, but it's going to be mine once yours comes back with the custom paint job.
Apparently, Dan's microphone has been missing from his desk that I stare at every day, and I had not noticed.
Yeah, and I wanted to have it done for this weekend, but
life happens.
Life happens.
Okay, can I get back to me?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how I said the week went by and I don't know what happened? So I went to my week, right, to look at what had happened. And then all of a sudden, it was blank. I'm like, what? I know I had a lot to do this week. What is going on? Why is my calendar blank? And I couldn't figure it out until I looked up and I was looking at September next year.
Of 2025?
Yes. Of course it's empty. Oh, Lord.
Wow.
Can we say?
Sometimes you just amaze me.
Yeah, I know.
In glorious and confusing ways.
I amaze myself sometimes.
I'm perplexed.
You're
but
perplexed.
You know what? That's something I've done in the past too.
Yeah. Indeed.
Matter of fact, I use Outlook on my computer because Google confuses me, because on Google, when you're in a email string, like you replying back and forth, it just like adds on to the string and makes that one email.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't find the last response. So in Outlook, it actually treats it as separate emails.
But
so I put it in Outlook, and that's
Google,
what I'm
right?
used to.
You know, you can change that.
Couldn't when I started using Outlook. There was not a feature. If it's a feature now, then that's new to me. But I like having the Outlook calendar.
See, I like having my Google because it's pretty and colorful, and I can customize it. Outlook is boring to me.
I like Outlook because it's what I'm used to at my day job.
At your day job. Hey, listen, I have to say, Yogi has been very needy and barky.
Barky?
Yeah, he's been barky Barkinson. Every morning, okay, I know you experienced this yesterday and today, but every morning I get up and he is like, whoop, let's go. And then while I'm trying to, like, I sit in my bed.
I have noticed this. He's part of the bark squad now.
Yeah. So he like,
he's like the leader of it.
Listen, I'm in bed trying to get up and I'm trying to put my flip-flops on so that I don't walk barefoot in case I have to run out to the yard to grab them.
And he's telling you to hurry up.
And he's barking away and looking at me like, hurry the heck up.
You're not going fast enough.
No. And then he goes, and when the two other dogs are walking, he goes and gets up in their face and rolls around. It's like, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then the other two get to the top of the stairs, and then they begin to go down at a very small pace, which we know Yogi cannot be in the steps at the same time.
He's got to go last.
Something else. Well, he can go first. The problem is
he just needs he needs the stairs to be
path.
his. He needs to own the stairs. He can't be on the steps while anybody else is.
But here's the thing. If he goes first and he gets to the bottom of the stairs, and then Simba Jr. and I are making our way down, he's barking at us like, hurry up. And then when Simbi or Juju are coming to the bottom step, he's like right up their face. And then they don't go because, it is what it is. Anyhow, but that's the nature of our animal.
Nature of the animals. So you're part of that pack.
I am part of the pack. I'm the leader.
No, I'm the leader.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm the alpha. You're the beta.
Okay, if I were the beta, they would go to bed with you when you go to bed, but apparently they stay with me. So I am the alpha.
That's the role of the beta. When the alpha tells them to do something, they do it.
They do it when I tell them to.
They give you all the love, but they listen and do what I ask.
Do you think Yogi and I are codependent?
Definitely. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. We are not. Please tell me it is not true.
It's absolutely true.
No.
Well, he needs you. And every once in a while, you'll get a little tear in your eye. I'm like, what's wrong? Usually, I can't imagine life without Yogi. So yes, there's a little codependence there.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, Julie.
Yes.
I got to wrangle this. I need to put my alpha foot down.
Stop that.
What's our...
Oh my gosh.
Who is our guest today?
Our guest today is actually someone that I know in IRL.
In real life.
Yeah, look at you. Smart man. Yeah.
I watched MTV back in the day. There was a show called IRL.
It is? I never saw that.
I think.
Anyway, so yes.
Yeah, pretty sure there was. Okay,
we have Barbara Nangle on the podcast today, and I had coffee with her a couple weeks ago. Her day that she recorded with me was a special day because she was leaving her job, her part-time job, to go full-time into her coaching business. And she is a boundaries coach and the founder of High Power Coaching and Consulting. And really during this episode, she shared her journey through recovery and the importance of setting healthy boundaries. She also opened up about codependency, reparenting yourself, and connecting with your inner child. But she emphasizes the true healing that starts when we begin to love ourselves, to have compassion, self-compassion, and we really feel our emotions, which sometimes we try to stifle those emotions.
Hey, do you think I'm good at connecting with my inner child, or am I just childish?
Wow. I think
It's a question.
Okay. Can I speak as your wife or your coach?
You're not my coach.
Oh, okay. Can I speak as your wife who is a coach?
Okay. Well, let's do this. Hold on. Let me get on the couch.
Okay.
Oh, you're not a psychologist.
I'm not a psychologist.
Don't be confused. Coaches are not counselors.
Okay. I believe that you have a youthful spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that...
But my body's betraying me right now, but I have a youthful spirit.
You have a youthful spirit and a body of an 80-year-old.
Whoa.
And...
I'm not that old.
We can test this.
68.
I would say 75. How's that?
It does take a bit to stand up sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you are a youthful spirit in the body of a 75-year-old.
I got the feet of a 90-year-old, but I got the...
Okay. Can you let me finish? Okay.
Okay, good.
And then you have, like most guys that I know...
How many guys do you know? Sorry.
For the love of God.
We're not talking biblically, people.
This is exactly what I mean. Childish tendencies. That's the 12-year-old in you. But that, my friend, is very different from actually connecting with your inner child.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
So what was the anniversary of this week?
There was the anniversary of my father passing away.
And how old were you when your dad passed away?
6.
Did you allow yourself to really feel a lot of the emotions of growing fatherless?
I did a little bit. I took a couple moments to reflect and see what that felt like. Yeah, I did actually. It's kind of a thing I do every year. So, and I wonder if my dad would have been proud of who I became and all that good stuff.
Yes. Your dad would be incredibly proud. Like by the way, he really, really is incredibly proud of you.
And he would love you. He would get a kick out of you.
He would love me. Father-in-laws always loved me. My late father-in-law from my first marriage, he loved me. We used to have a lot of fun together. He was a wonderful man.
Mm-hmm.
Bert.
Yeah.
Bertie.
I met Bert.
Yeah.
Good guy.
He was amazing. He kind of reminds me of you in some ways now. He had the very outgoing,
because I'm older?
loud wife. Yeah, because you're old too.
He's got the loud wife. Yep. Check. 1.
Okay. So listen, I want to give you some homework. Actually, not homework, but some love work.
I got homework now?
Yeah, you got homework.
Oh, jeez.
I want you to get a photo of yourself as a child.
Those are some goofy photos.
Yes, they are.
Big eyes. I grew into those eyes.
You did grow into those beautiful blue eyes.
Googly eyes.
And I would love for you to remind yourself how much you love that child.
And
I want you to think about that child. He's incredibly proud of the man that you've become. But that child would also love the flexibility to enjoy the moment, go for a walk, go exploring, move their bodies a little more. So, just saying.
Wow. I see what you did there.
What did I do?
Encouraged me.
Encouraged you?
It's a good way to think of it.
Listen.
Got to let the child out. But
why are you pulling the microphone out of your face?
I'm sorry. I'm not used to having a mic in my hand.
That? Maybe I should have had that because I am, used to having that mic.
Maybe you should have.
Really?
Yeah.
Stop.
Maybe you should have.
Wow. This is a family show.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Who's the child now?
All right. And here's one more thing that we talked about with Barb. And I really think that this is one of the lessons that I want to continue to build. Consistency, my friend, is maintaining boundaries. And at times, those boundaries are hard to keep. Why? Because we feel uncomfortable and we allow ourselves to think about that maybe we're not going to be accepted by the other person, and we become guilty. And I want to encourage you to be okay with the discomfort that allows you to have the freedom of standing up for yourself. What do you think?
Freedom!
Wow.
Sorry, that's what I just thought of. I thought of...
That's how you roll. Huh?
it's a good movie.
What movie?
The movie Freedom. It's the one.
Hold the microphone to your mouth.
The Scottish.
I don't know.
The
what that
Scottish.
is. I didn't see that.
You did. Braveheart.
No, I didn't see that. It's violent.
It is very violent.
Yeah. No, I would not have seen that.
It's a semi-historic. Most history movies aren't very accurate, and that one is very fraught with errors. But it's not about that. It's about a good movie.
It is a good movie.
You just said you've never seen it. How do you know?
Because it won a lot of awards and people talk about it. So it must be a good movie for people that like violence in their world.
Did you ever see Gladiator?
Oh, come on.
They're doing a sequel, you know.
Well, that's another movie I'm not going to be watching.
Just for everyone out there. Well, there's a very violent movie you're going to go see in a week or so.
Really?
Yeah. You're going to see things get sliced off and they'll regrow.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now.
Deadpool versus Wolverine. No, it's Deadpool Wolverine. That's what we're going to say.
The only reason you're getting me there is for Hugh Jackman.
I know. It's your boy.
I'm sure there's going to be some sort of like
musical number.
Not musical. No.
I guarantee somebody sings in this movie and there's a reference to The Last Showman. I guarantee it. It's Deadpool. It's all about breaking the wall, about talking to the audience. I guarantee there's a Last Showman joke. You want to make a bet on it right now?
Standard bet.
Standard bet.
We got to pay off though.
Yep. I'm going to win it.
I'm in it to win it myself.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, by the way, speaking of in it to win it, Arlene and Mike, our friends, the Rouses, have an anniversary this week. And I'm sad that we're not seeing them for their anniversary.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they're enjoying themselves and getting away.
Yeah, whatever. They're at the beach. Good for them. Enjoy it.
Hey, don't be... What is that called? Don't be jealous of...
Have I been to the beach this summer yet? Maybe I should go to the beach right now.
Tried to.
I tried to.
But it was raining.
Yeah. I need to
mudsliding while we were in El Salvador.
I need to go to the beach somewhere. I need to have me some Jimmy Buffett's and some beach time.
Some sand between your toes?
Some sand between my toes and some waves in my ears.
All right, Julie.
Are you going to the beach with me, Dan?
I might go to the beach with you.
Oh, my God. So, listen, if I'm going to Deadpool, you're going to the beach.
Well, you know what's going to happen right now?
You're going to cut me off.
We're going to listen to this interview between you and Barb.
Enjoy the interview, everybody. And remember that Barb's story of overcoming codependency and embracing herself is a journey that we can all be on. Rediscover who you are. Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence, where we have the most incredible visitors come and have a chat with us. Happy to have Barb Nangle. She is a boundaries coach, speaker, writer, and the founder and CEO of High Power Coaching and Consulting, and the host of the podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. In 2015, at the age of 52, after decades of therapy and tons of self-help work in a variety of areas, Barb found herself in 12-step recovery. She's been in 2 such fellowships since then and has changed deeply and profoundly as a result. As a former addict and people pleaser rescuer, she empowers people to thrive and take more control over their personal and professional lives by coaching them to build healthy boundaries. She works with organizations in helping professionals as well as women entrepreneurs to avoid burnout and reduce turnover. Her specialty is working with women who focus on what others think and neglect themselves. She's coached hundreds using her exclusive build framework. I am so happy to have you here, Barb. Welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Julie. I'm really excited to be here. I've been anticipating this for a while.
Me too. And we had to kind of finagle a little bit of a shift from our original date. So thank you for your flexibility.
Of course.
Crazy life that we live in as entrepreneurs in this world. But thank you for your flexibility. And today's a special day for you. Tell me a little bit more why this is a special day for you.
Yeah. So thank you for asking. So today is the last day at my part-time job. I've had a couple of part-time jobs for a long time, but I will be working solely on my business, Higher Power Coaching and Consulting, as of tomorrow. And obviously, this is what I've been working towards for a really long time, and it's super exciting. I'm a teeny tiny little bit scared, and I'm sort of shocked that I'm not more scared, but I'm absolutely thrilled. I've been working at a place in New Haven called Known Co-working, which is sort of a hub for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, especially those who are BIPOC business owners. And I've loved really making connections for people. My job there is community manager. And one of my zones of genius is that I am a connector. And so it's going to be interesting to not have that piece. But I do a lot of networking as an entrepreneur myself, so I will always connect people, but it's really thrilling to be at this point in my business.
I am excited for you because I think that, life, at least the way I look at it, we are always running in seasons. Like the year has seasons. Our life has multiple seasons, and some of them are short. Some of them, like this winter, may last a little longer than we want. But definitely, I am excited for the possibilities or what's to come. And yes, it's scary to take that first step, for as exciting as something could be. But you also have had a lot of life behind you. Tell me more about what your journey has been like, because we talked about it in the bio, but sometimes we really need the person to tell us their hero's journey.
Yeah. So I am 60, which I sort of can't believe, but of course I can because I've lived these 60 years. And I didn't know that I wasn't really living my life on purpose prior to 12-step recovery. I just briefly, I am a sociologist by training. I have a master's in sociology. I worked for 19 years for Yale University as a program coordinator for urban education, prevention, and policy research. I actually hit what is called a codependent bottom while I was still at Yale. So my last couple of years there. So I implemented a lot of these changes while I was still in the organization I'd been at for a long time. And I was astonished, Julie, at the impact of my, especially building healthy boundaries on the rest of my team. The ripple effect that just my own change in behavior had on all those around me was astonishing. And because my core wound is codependence and boundaries is essentially the antidote to that, that's ultimately why I became a boundaries coach, because boundaries permeate every single area of your life. And I had no idea how much of my life was affected. So I'll tell you how I hit this codependent bottom. So I had volunteered at my church to lead a project that was serving homeless people. And right around that same time, a homeless guy named Dan started coming to my church as a parishioner, and we became very friendly. And I sort of felt like it was like a sign from God, like, oh, we're going to introduce you to a homeless person so that when you're serving homeless people, they're humanized. They're not like the homeless, but people. And so he and I became very friendly. And a few months into our friendship, there was a snowstorm one day, and I invited him to stay at my home, which I now know is not normal behavior. And he did. And he stayed another time and another time. And within a few weeks, he was practically living with me. And I eventually felt trapped in my own home. He was an
Wow.
addict. He wasn't drinking when I met him, but of course he picked that back up.
Mhm.
I now know he was probably a narcissist or maybe had borderline personality
Wow.
disorder. And actually, is it okay if I swear? Because I'm a
Of
swearer.
course. I, I,
Okay,
I am a
so
potty mouth girl too,
okay,
so you're
good. Me
good.
too. So this guy fucked with my head like nobody ever had
Wow.
in my entire life. And I one day was in therapy with my therapist and I was
Mhm.
talking about him in mid-sentence. I went, oh my God, do you think I need to go to Al-Anon? And she was like, yes. So for anybody who doesn't
Mhm.
know what Al-Anon is, it is a 12-step recovery program for the loved ones of alcoholics.
Mhm.
And most people, if they've ever heard of 12-step recovery, they know about Alcoholics Anonymous, which is
Right.
the mother program of all 12-step recovery programs. And you might be saying, well, why do the loved ones of alcoholics
Mhm.
need a recovery program? And here's why. Because the things that we tend to do that seem natural and make sense to us to try to help the alcoholics either quit or get into rehab are actually counterproductive. And what we
Mm.
end up doing is making our life be entirely about that person, and we stop paying attention to our own lives and we get so fixated on them changing their behavior.
Mhm.
And so we need to recover because alcoholism is a family disease. People tend to think, well, if they just stop drinking, everything would change. Well, people are
Yeah.
drinking for a reason. And so you can just stop drinking and your life can still be just as much of a mess
Yeah.
because the alcohol is really a symptom. And so when there's an alcoholic in the family or there was an alcoholic in the generations past, it has an effect on the generations to come. So I went home and I don't know what I typed. I know I was looking for Al-Anon and I came across this word codependent. And I was like, wait, what is
Mm.
this word? Now I have read a gajillion self-help books. I had been in therapy for literally 37 years, not continuously, but close. I'm a
Yeah.
very introspective person and had never heard this word. And I was like, how is this
Wow.
possible? And I remember saying to my therapist, I don't feel like I got hit in the head with a baseball with the news that I'm codependent. I feel like I got hit in the head with a planet. What
Wow.
else don't I know about myself? How is it possible that I've
Yeah.
been doing all of this work and
Mhm.
there's this thing that describes me that I just don't get? And she said, Barb, I think for you that codependence is a unifying concept.
Mhm.
It pulls together a whole bunch of things you did know about yourself. You just didn't know they were related. And
Mhm.
initially, Julie, I thought she was saying it to make me feel better. But as time went on and I got to really get a better
Yep.
handle on what codependence is, I realized that she was right. So I started going to Codependence Anonymous and very quickly got
Wow.
a sense of relief. And I think partly it was to know there's this thing about me
Mhm.
that explains all this stuff. There's a recovery program. There are other people who have this. I'm not alone. I'm not a freak. And I
Mhm.
also very quickly had the thought, I think I need to be reparented. But I didn't know that reparenting was a thing that people do. And I
Okay.
thought I made that up. And then not long after that, I went to go visit my friends in Cape Cod, and Heidi of the couple had been in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, for many years and just raved about how drastically her life had been turned around. So I
Mhm.
said, hey, I've started going to Codependence Anonymous. And she said, oh, great. Let's see if we can find a CODA meeting while you're here and we'll go together. And she couldn't, but she found a meeting of adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. I had heard of it as ACOA as
Mhm.
long as I can remember, but it never occurred to me, like, why do those people need a program? What does that mean? And it never occurred to me that I qualified for the program because I hadn't heard the and dysfunctional families part of it.
Ooh.
And I was like, I'll go for you because her dad's an alcoholic. And we
Mhm.
walk into the meeting and one of the things they say is we reparent ourselves. And I was like, what? And then they read the list of the 14 traits of an adult child, which is affectionately called the laundry list. Now, Heidi
Mhm.
tells me that I sobbed the entire meeting. I don't remember that, but I bought the
Wow.
literature, came home to New Haven, Connecticut, and
Mhm.
started going to ACA. So ACA and ACOA are the
Mhm.
same
Mhm.
thing. ACA is a trauma recovery program where you reparent yourself. to recover from the effects of growing up in childhood dysfunction. And you also use the 12 steps to recover. And so I very soon got into a group of women that actually actively worked the 12 steps, started going to another meeting for that fellowship. And after about a year, I was going to both CODA and ACA. I decided to let CODA go because it was maybe a 75% fit for me and ACA was a 100% fit. And I just wasn't seeing and experiencing the kind of recovery that I was having dramatically in ACA.
Right.
And that turned out to be an intervention from my higher power because I went to CODA on Monday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And right after I decided not to do that, one of the women I was doing the 12 steps with had been talking about her thinking and behavior around her eating. And I remember thinking like, oh my God. And it wasn't, oh my God, what she was doing and thinking. It was that I did that same thing. And I thought those same things and I didn't know other people did. And so lo and behold, she invited me to go to a meeting of Overeaters Anonymous. And I was at the point right then where I was like hitting bottom with sugar. And so I ended up, I didn't even know compulsive eating was a thing. I absolutely didn't know that I had that. And so I've now been in recovery for compulsive overeating and sugar addiction, which is an actual thing. I know a lot of people say they're addicted to sugar. I literally am.
Yeah.
So I've been in ACA, April 18th will be 9 years. And I have been abstinent in OA. That's what we call, it's like sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been abstinent since April 20th of 2016. So almost 8 years. I'm down over 100 pounds from my top weight. And so when I say I've changed deeply and profoundly, I mean like literally on a cellular level, because I didn't know that I had trauma. I didn't understand that trauma is not just blunt trauma, like you were in a war, you were raped, you were in a hurricane or something like that. There's something called a relational trauma, which I call it sort of like the drip, drip, drip of emotional invalidation, neglect, gaslighting, and that sort of thing. And I didn't understand that. And the thing about trauma is that it's literally in your tissues. And so I've done an enormous amount of work. And I think for me, the reason that the profound recovery has happened is because of the trauma. And I think that because of the 12 steps, there's something very different about them than every other modality I ever tried. So I could go on and on about this, but I will stop there. So that you can ask me something.
I'm so happy that and grateful to you for sharing the story, because I know that as you unpacked where you've been, there's people who are listening. And even for myself, I've heard a couple things that definitely I want to dig a little deeper into. One of the things is codependency. And I've heard that before. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit of what is the, I guess, textbook definition and how did you see that in your life?
Yeah. So I don't know that there is a textbook definition. So it's kind of like a syndrome in that there's a whole constellation of things. But to me, the definition that I use that makes the most sense to me is that we are focused on that which is outside of ourselves. Often other people, what they're doing, what they're thinking of me. And I will tell you, about 6 months into my recovery, I heard a psychotherapist say this thing that really helped me. I'm one of those people who suffers from the need to understand things. If I don't understand something, it's very difficult for me to buy into it. And she said, so her name is Tian Dayton, Tian Dayton, and she's one of the mothers of the whole world of like codependency recovery and adult child recovery. And she said, I've been around a long time, and what's happened over time is that the theory and research on trauma has advanced beyond that of codependence. And what we now know is that codependence is a result of trauma, and here's why. Because when you were traumatized, you were living in fight or flight mode. In other words, you're in, I call it your lizard brain, right?
Yep.
Well, that means that you can't access your frontal lobe, which is where the higher order thinking is. Here's the thing. The self is an abstract, ever-changing concept, which lives in the frontal lobe. So when you're in fight or flight mode, you cannot get to self. So you must go outside. And we're doing this because we want to be safe, because we want to get out of fight or flight mode. So that it was like this understanding sort of fell in place for me because I was like, how the fuck did I get this way? How did
Oh,
this?
100%. I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
Right. And
great definition, by the way.
yeah. And like, I will also say, Julie, that for the first 6 months I was in the ACA,
Mhm,
I objectively did not have it as bad as many of the people in the room. I didn't get the shit
mhm.
kicked out of me. I didn't get raped. I didn't get burned. I didn't get
Yeah.
my bones broken. I didn't get told I was a piece of crap. I didn't get pushed down the stairs, but I
Mhm.
had the traits. So I
Right.
was like, how did this happen? Now, when I was 17 and again when I was 18, my dad tried to strangle me and I moved out of my house. I
Wow.
knew that that was trauma, right?
Mhm.
But in my mind, I was like, well, I was almost fully grown. And also, by the way, I was still blaming myself for
Mm.
that, which is
Wow.
super dysfunctional. I've come out of denial about that. And so I was like, how did this happen? And when I finally got that trauma can result from the absence of good things happening, I was like, oh,
Wow. You just blew my
okay.
brain.
And
Amazing. Yes.
I've heard another definition of trauma is that it results from unmet needs. So many of the people in the ACA program weren't physically or emotionally abused, or not physically abused. They were emotionally abused, or they were neglected, or both.
Wow.
And the thing about someone like me is, like you heard from my first 6 months, I'm
Mhm.
comparing to other people and saying, like, I don't
Yeah.
know that I belong here because I don't have it as bad as other people.
Mhm. Yep.
And I've heard some therapists say that in some ways it's almost more difficult to treat people who don't have physical abuse because when you have physical
Of
abuse,
course.
you have evidence. I have been abused. There's no
Right.
denying that that was wrong, that you
Mhm.
were hit or whatever it was happened. But because the emotional stuff it's not all the time, just like physical abuse isn't all the time,
Mhm.
it's hard. And here's the other thing, just because you come from a dysfunctional family doesn't mean it's not a loving family.
Right.
Those are not mutually
Absolutely.
exclusive. And
Absolutely.
that's another thing, is a lot of people have trouble with, they don't want to go into the program because they don't want to be disloyal to their family. Nobody's asking you to
Mhm.
be disloyal to
Yeah.
your family. We're asking you to be disloyal to the
To the
dysfunction.
dysfunction. And a lot of people, and this is where, and by the way, this is a lot of the work that I've been through in the past few years, that there is that level of shame as
Mm,
well that keeps
mhm,
you from saying,
mhm.
hey, I've been through this, because you
Right.
definitely don't want to, um, be
Mhm.
that broken person,
Right.
and especially if you're looking to the outside for a lot of
Right.
that validation, you
Right.
you don't want to be broken.
Yeah.
You,
And actually, the shame piece that you just talked about, that's the legacy of adult children. So we are
mm,
riddled with guilt and shame, and our greatest fear is of abandonment. And what's interesting is that the thing we fear the most is what we do to ourselves. So we grow up learning to abandon ourselves because
mm,
we think that's what we need to do to get love.
yep.
And so what we say in ACA is the solution is to become your own loving parent. And that can mean many
Yeah.
things. It can mean something as simple as you're good and kind to yourself. And it can be
Hmm.
as complex as you create this whole cast of characters: inner
Hmm.
child, inner teenager, inner critical parent,
Hmm.
inner parent, and you reparent yourself, and then everything
Yeah.
in between. And what's interesting is what I found is when I stopped abandoning myself, I stopped being so afraid of abandonment from other people. And when I look back at what happened, the primary way I stopped
Mhm.
abandoning myself was by building healthy boundaries. Because building
Yeah.
healthy boundaries is you figuring out, well, what actually is okay and not okay with me? What do I like? Because I was a chameleon. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, I like what you like. And it doesn't mean that there are certain things that I've always liked, but there was a lot of me that was up for negotiation
Mm.
before. And so building healthy boundaries is essentially figuring what are the standards that I have for my life, living up to them, and then getting other people to come along or not. And if they don't
Yeah.
come along, then the question is, what are you going to do about it? Now, there are going to be some people you might lose in your life, and there are going to be other
Hmm.
people you're going to spend less time with. But when that happens, the people who like the actual authentic you are going to be able to get to you because you're not being blocked by all these people
Mhm.
who aren't your real people. So this is yet another reason why I wanted to become a boundaries coach, because I learned that even though I always had this high self-esteem, I didn't really love myself. And I didn't have self-worth. When I looked at my
Mhm.
past behavior, it was like, well, this is clearly the behavior of a woman who doesn't feel worthy. If you had ever asked me that, do you feel worthy? I would have said yes.
Of course.
And I definitely did not trust myself. And the boundary building process is the process where I got to trust myself, because I started saying, I'm going to follow through on this. And I started doing it. I got
Mhm.
to know myself better. And so I got to like myself better, and I got to love myself better. And I held my standards for
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
And so all of that. And so again, more reasons why I decided boundary coaching, because it was such a transformation for me. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the ripple effect on my life of all the people around me when just me started
Mm.
building healthy boundaries was astonishing.
Yeah. I think that, when the work begins with ourselves, and, we spend so much time trying to change others, but the
Yes,
only person we can really change is ourselves. And what ends up
absolutely.
happening is when we do the changes, those people who are meant to be in our lives and then also kind of come into alignment
Hmm. Hmm.
as well. And the
Yeah,
people that don't are the people that don't belong in your life.
right.
And at
Yes.
times we're so, in that people pleasing mode. We want everybody to be in our lives. We don't want to hurt people. And,
Yeah.
that's a lot
Yeah.
of the work that we need to get through.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
um, I love what you talked about when it comes to reparenting. I did some of that work when I entered therapy for the first time, and really going through and, you know, having that parent myself, the child, putting some boundaries, teenage Julie also. And it's still an ongoing process. It's not something that, oh, you do it and then you're
Oh,
cured, right?
correct. Yeah.
So
No, I do it. Yeah. Multiple times
years
a week.
later, still at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit of, for other individuals who are listening to us and really, well, I don't get it. Reparenting. You talked a little bit about that, but kind of deep dive into what was your process for
Yeah.
reparenting yourself?
Okay, so for the first number of years, I did really like basic level stuff. So the most important thing I think I did was get a picture of myself from when
Mhm.
I was like 3 that I love, and I looked at
Mm.
it every day, and I started saying nice things to her. I
Yeah.
did mirror work where I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I love you just the way you are. I didn't mean it. I was crying when I did it, but I did it anyway because I had heard that this is really effective. Um,
Mhm.
the way that I learned from the ACA literature to connect with my inner child was through non-dominant handwriting. And so the way that works is
Really?
just you write with your dominant hand as the adult to introduce
Mhm.
yourself to the inner child. And then with your non-dominant hand, perhaps with a crayon or a marker or something, you write with your non-dominant hand. I don't have any understanding of how it works. I don't care. I don't know how electricity works either. I don't care.
But it
Right? It
works, right?
works. Right? So that was the only way that I knew how to connect with my inner child. And I would do that. I would say in my first like 8 years, I did it maybe 10 times. And probably 7 of those 10 times, something really deep and profound came out that I didn't know was in there.
Mm.
The other 3 times, it was just sort of mundane. And then last year, in January, I was listening to the Adult Child podcast, which is hands down my favorite podcast. And there was a guest on named Susan Anderson, and she's a trauma recovery expert. And she said, if you really want to repair the relationship with your inner child, there are a couple things you need to do. One, you need to make consistent, conscious contact with your inner child. So 2 to 3 times a week. And then
Mhm.
you need to make small promises to your inner child and keep them. And
And keep
so I
them.
took that very seriously. I went out and I bought a little girl journal, and I said to
Oh.
myself, Monday, Wednesday, Friday night, even if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to make conscious contact, because that was the only way I knew how to do it.
Mhm.
And what ended up happening, Julie, is that this, I started seeing this little version of me and
Mm.
interacting with her. And it's like I'm watching a play that I'm in. I don't know how to describe it.
Wow.
I don't, and it sounds crazy and I don't care. Because when I first got in, even when I was doing the first 8 years of reparenting, I would hear people in recovery telling these stories about having multiple inner children and they had different names. And I was like, it's not that I thought that they were lying, but I'm like, I have no
Hmm.
concept. I just had no framework for that. And here
Wow.
it started happening to me. And then all of a sudden my inner teenager showed up. And then one day this woman showed up and I was like, oh, that must be my inner critical parent. And then not long after that, I discerned that her
Hmm.
name is Irene. And so now I still occasionally do the non-dominant handwriting, but I don't need to anymore because I
Hmm.
can connect just in my mind. And I do try to do things like play.
Hmm.
Like I did this social media campaign last summer when the Barbie movie came out called Better Boundaries with Barbie. And I bought a doll that looks like me and I called her
Really?
Barbie's Boundaries Coach. And so literally
I
playing with
love this.
Barbies was really, really fun. And it's like a way to tap into my inner child. But what I have found, like the deep and profound thing that I have found is that when I'm upset, and for me personally, the way that shows up most frequently is I feel pressure on my chest. What I
Mm.
do now is I close my eyes and I check in with my inner child and I say, hey, how you doing? And if
Yeah.
she's fine, then I check in with my inner teen. And if she's fine, then I check in with my inner critical parent. And what has happened literally every time I've done that is one of them is really upset about something. And what I do is either me, adult Barb, or I have this character that I have created that I call Big Mama. That's my inner loving parent. And she's a combination of the character of God from the movie and the book The Shack, which was
Okay.
played by, oh my goodness, Olympia. I can't remember her last name.
Ducapas?
No,
No.
I can't. I mean, I love this woman. So her, and then the grandmother of a former colleague, and she's just like pure love. It's just
Mm.
pure, yummy, delicious, like unconditional love. And so I will either her or me will connect and be like, okay, so what are you feeling? What's going on? I allow my, let's say it's my inner child, I allow her to be sad or scared or whatever she is. And I'm like, you can be scared and I'm going to be here with you. Because what happened for me as a child
Yeah.
was my parents weren't capable of being with me in my feelings.
Mm.
And feelings are really scary for adults,
Yeah.
never mind for
Never mind a
children.
child. Yeah,
And the thing
absolutely.
is, there is no healing without feeling. When it comes to emotional work, there is no healing without feeling. You cannot
Mm.
hotwire your way around feelings.
Yeah.
And so, learning how to allow the inner child to express her feelings and being there with her and saying, I'm right here, I'm not going anywhere. And I'll tell you, one of the most profound reparenting sessions I had
Mm.
was telling my inner child, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. And so she started saying, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be scared, and crying. And now if you had been in my bedroom watching me, you would have seen adult Barb sobbing. And I was, but it was really my inner child internalizing deeply the understanding that you don't have to pretend that you're not scared anymore. You
Yeah.
get to be scared and you
Yeah.
get to come to me and tell me that you're scared and you don't have to pretend anymore. And it was this very cathartic situation. And I
Mhm.
still sometimes have to say it's okay to be scared, but it's not this big, huge,
Yeah.
profound deal because she got the message. Button it
Hmm.
up.
Yeah.
When you're a kid,
Yeah.
like don't show stuff because it's not going
Hmm.
to be received. It's
Yeah.
not safe to do that. So, those are some examples. I will say, I have a number of episodes on my podcast where
Mhm.
I have talked about reparenting. I also was a guest on the Adult Child podcast that came out the day before Thanksgiving, where I told the whole story of what happened. Because last year, my reparenting journey was profound. I mean, it's astonishing to me that after 8 years of doing a lot of work
Yeah.
in recovery and how far I came, that I
Mhm.
made this many more
Yeah.
advances. And the profound healing is Like, I can't even tell. It's like on a cellular level. I feel like my DNA has changed.
I love this. And I know that we're going to put all these resources for your
Okay.
podcast, for the reparenting podcast, in the show notes, because I think that this is the ongoing work for many of us. I look at,
Mhm.
even from my journey, I keep a picture of myself when I was little. And a lot of the times that I'm feeling these intense emotions that normally I would have run away from, or I would have avoided, or I would have, done a number of things to not see them. I go back and I sit with that and I reassure that child, it's okay. It's okay to be
Mhm.
scared. Don't worry about
Mhm.
it. We can
Mhm.
handle it. I'm here to
Mhm.
help you. We'll
Right.
figure it out.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and these are the things that, to someone who may be hearing this for the first time, you may think like, oh my God, these two are crazy, but it really is something that
Right.
I want to encourage you to be
Mhm.
a little curious about, my listeners,
Yeah.
because curiosity is the one thing that can help us kind of
Mhm.
build a
Mhm.
little bit of the momentum to
Mhm.
begin a journey of healing. And you hear me talk about this if you listen to this podcast. I always said, oh no, I never have trauma. I grew up in a great childhood. I had a loving home. But
Mhm.
the reality is that there has been some trauma, and that trauma has carried me and led me to the places. And I don't have any regrets for the things that have happened in my life, but
Yeah, me too.
certainly, that I was seeking a lot of the reassuring or trying to hide some of the pain that the trauma had caused. And again, it
Mhm.
wasn't because
Mhm.
I didn't have a happy childhood home. It was
Right.
because of everything else. So,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
agreed. Absolutely. And I think, judge me if you will. If what I'm talking about sounds
Mhm.
crazy to you, fine. I don't care. It
Yeah.
is healing. It's healing on a deep and profound level. And
Mhm.
if your judgment is going to keep you from that level of healing, then go ahead and judge me. I definitely thought a lot of the stuff people were saying was kind of hokey. I remember in my first 6 months, I went to a workshop for AC, and this guy started talking about having multiple inner children. And this is me. I was like, here we go. By the end of the workshop, I was like, oh my God, this guy's brilliant because of what he talked about, like what he got to in doing that work and how much it changed him and how much it healed him. So,
Mm.
if you want to judge, go
Yep.
ahead. I don't
No,
care. You can take it.
incredible. And by the
Yeah.
way, this is why I know that Barb and myself did the work, because we know that what we have been through can be hopefully that aha moment for somebody that they can hear
Yes.
and say, wow, I get it. I see. Oh my goodness. This is something that maybe I need. And
Mm,
there's hope for all of us to continue to grow and evolve. And it
yeah.
just takes again, having the people that come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime that helps
Mhm.
navigate what we're doing and becoming that
Mhm.
better version of ourselves that we all seek to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
There were a couple of things you said before that I would like to touch on very
mhm,
quickly. One was people pleasing and hurting people's feelings.
yep.
And so I didn't know that I was a people pleaser until I got into recovery. And I remember hearing that term and I was like, oh, my friend Joanne, she's a people pleaser. I'm not. No, I was the quintessential people pleaser. And here's the thing that's manipulative and dishonest. It's not, I
Mhm,
thought it was nice, Julie. I'm a nice person. That's why I help
yeah.
people. And it's manipulative because you are going about your behaviors for the express purpose of pleasing other people, trying to get
Mm,
them to like or approve of you. So that's manipulative. It's dishonest because you're saying things are okay with you that are not. You volunteer for things you don't really want to volunteer for. You don't say no when you really want to.
yeah.
So it's
Right.
dishonest. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm a horrible person. I manipulate people and I'm dishonest because I thought it was honest when I got in recovery. And then I realized, oh, this came from somewhere. This is behavior that developed as a child to protect myself. I
Yeah.
still need to stop. And here's the thing, you get to be included in the people that you please. You
Yeah.
get to. And it's fine to seek other people's approval, but only after you have your own approval. And then
Mhm,
in terms of hurting people's feelings, I love to share this concept. There's a difference between harming someone and hurting them. So it might hurt you to use a needle to take a splinter out of your finger, but it's
mhm,
not going to harm you. In fact, it's going to heal you.
yeah.
So
Indeed.
it might hurt someone's feelings to set a boundary with them, but it's not going to harm them. And there's the potential to heal the relationship because you're
Yep.
becoming honest with them about what's okay and not okay. At minimum, you will be healing your relationship with yourself
Yes.
because you've started to show up for yourself, be honest with yourself, follow through for yourself, and stop abandoning yourself. So those are two concepts that I really like to share with people because
Mhm.
it can be game changing when, to go from thinking I'm nice like I did and being like, oh my God, I'm manipulating
Mhm.
and dishonest.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I want to kind of unpack a little bit of what you are doing to help others because I
Mhm,
know that you have a group coaching program, and
mhm,
now that you are moving ahead and really creating these types of environments where people can come
mhm,
and leverage what you've been
mhm.
through and your experience and expertise, I definitely want to go ahead and touch on that. Will you mind
Great.
telling us a little bit more?
Yeah, I would say the number one way that people connect with me is on my podcast, Fragmented to Whole Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. Actually, March 18th will be 5 years since my first episode. So
Wow,
right now I'm at 252
congratulations.
episodes. 30 something of them are exclusively about boundaries. And I do
Hmm.
have a playlist of those 30 episodes on my website. I do private and group coaching. So my private coaching program is a 12-week program. I do coach men privately, but not in groups. Though,
Yeah.
since I've become a boundaries coach, before I niched into boundaries, I coach
Hmm.
men. I really haven't coached men since then. They tend to be women who look on the outside like they have it together and they're a mess
Hmm.
internally. Like maybe they go from the boardroom to the bathroom and start crying, or they find
Yep.
themselves asleep at night. They're probably enabling an adult child or a spouse or partner,
Hmm.
and that could be financially, emotionally, whatever. And so that tends to be, but I've also worked with some like 20 something and 30 something young women who've
Hmm.
never even been married. I have a group coaching program called Your Empowered Life. It's an 8-week transformational group program to help women become the authentic woman they've always wanted to be and learn to be honest with themselves and others. And what's really cool about that is that not only do you get coaching from me, but you get
Hmm.
the synergy of being in a group program with other women doing the same thing.
Amazing.
And I occasionally do other workshops and that sort of thing. I also have a newsletter every Friday. I call it Friday Fragments. It's like a play on
Hmm.
words with my podcast, and it's very similar to podcast content. And
Very
my
nice.
favorite place to hang out on social media is on Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching, and I have tons and tons and tons of free stuff on boundaries
Amazing.
on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw your newsletter today and I enjoy it. And I'm so excited
Oh,
that,
good.
you have so many great things coming up. What an incredible journey. What an incredible, powerful story that is not just your story, but is now becoming the fabric of the story of others. And
Mm.
I thank you for the work that you're doing, Barb.
Well,
Amazing.
thank you. And I thank you for the work
Yeah.
that you're doing. And I appreciate you having me on and also being vulnerable yourself and sharing a bit of your story. That's so helpful to hear, like sort of behind closed doors stories
Yeah.
about people, because we get these ideas about, oh, someone's
Oh, so
successful or
perfect. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, like they didn't
Yeah.
ever have any trauma and everything was perfect for them. No, I meandered
No.
my way
No.
here.
I want to normalize that, there's brokenness and pain and sadness behind the Instagrammable perfect profiles that
Yeah,
we all tend to keep,
yeah.
because if there's always someone sitting alone thinking it's just
Mhm.
me, and it's
Mhm.
not. There's power in our stories. There's strength and hope, most of all, that,
Mhm.
hey, if I've been through this and I've been able to walk through it and get to the other side, so can
Mhm.
you. So I know that there's a
Yeah,
listener that has heard this and it's exactly what they needed to hear.
excellent.
Uh, Thank you again. You're going to need to come back again and we can unpack some more of these things for
Okay,
the
I would
listeners.
love that. That'd be great.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Barb. And let the
Thank
listeners
you.
know, where can they connect with you again?
Yeah, again, so if you are an Instagram person, that's my favorite place on
Mhm.
social media at Higher Power Coaching. You can go to fragmentedtowhole.com to get to my podcast, and my website is higherpowercc.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again. And everybody, please make sure that you connect with Barb. follow her, like her, download her stuff, ask her questions, because I know that she is more than happy to be able to be a great resource for you or anyone that you know that can be that person that maybe needs to go from codependency to reparenting to really healing some of these wounds and trauma that, again, we all have because it's normal part of the human experience.
Yes.
So thanks again, everybody. And don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business, push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly Julie's Mastermind.